Princess Anang Sena of Malwa had a reputation that terrified every scholar in the kingdom. She publicly vowed to only marry the man who could defeat her in a battle of wits, and for years, no prince, philosopher, or poet had even come close. So it's a bit of a historical puzzle how the man who finally won her hand was an illiterate, starving orphan named Somdat, and he managed to do it without speaking a single word to her. Somdat was living in extreme poverty, but he possessed a fiercely rigid moral code. Even when he had absolutely nothing to eat, he flatly refused to beg for food, insisting that he would survive only on whatever he could honestly earn through hard work. One day, after earning just enough coin to buy a few days' worth of meals, he spotted a hunter carrying a captured parrot. The bird looked desperate. Without a second thought, Somdat spent his entire earnings, bought its freedom, and released it into the woods. He went to bed hungry that night, completely unaware that this one seemingly illogical act of empathy was about to put an uneducated peasant on the throne of Malwa. The parrot, it turned out, was actually the son of a celestial yaksha trapped in a bird's body by a curse. To repay Somdat for saving his life, the yaksha appeared at his window that night with a promise. He was going to win Somdat the entire kingdom. Since Somdat couldn't read or write, the yaksha devised a massive bluff. Somdat was instructed to sit in silent, deep meditation under a large tree outside the city gates. The goal was to project an aura of a deeply mystical, untouchable genius. While Somdat sat quietly outside, the parrot flew directly into the grand stone courts of Malwa. He announced to the assembly that his master was a scholar of such vast intellect that engaging in human speech would be an insult to his own genius. Somdat was suddenly perched on a terrifying knife edge. If he broke his silence, even to utter a single syllable, his utter lack of education would be exposed, and he would face execution for mocking the royal family. Acting strictly as his master's mouthpiece, the parrot challenged Princess Anang Sena in front of her entire court, posing 3 incredibly difficult riddles. The first 2 tested her worldly wisdom. What wealth grows when you share it? The answer is knowledge. What death brings true immortality? The sacrifice of a patriot. Then came the final riddle. What is the one darkness that cannot be cured by the light of the sun, the moon, or a lamp? For the first time in her life, the brilliant princess was stumped. She searched her vast education, but could not find the answer. The darkness of ignorance. Assuming the silent man under the tree must be a transcendental genius to have taught a bird such complex philosophy, Anang Sena gracefully conceded defeat. She agreed to marry Somdat, making him the king of Malwa overnight. Somdat had secured a royal title, immense wealth, and a brilliant partner. But the victory was completely hollow. Every ounce of his new status was borrowed from someone else's intellect. Having paid his debt, the yaksha visited Somdat in secret. He handed the new king a specific 15-day mantra dedicated to Saraswati, the goddess of knowledge, and then vanished, leaving Somdat entirely on his own. It didn't take long for the jealous scholars in the court to start digging into their mysterious new king's background. They sent spies to Somdat's home village to investigate. This manuscript illustrates the dense, complex written knowledge typical of the era. The conspirators quickly realized Somdat couldn't decipher a single line of text like this. He was completely illiterate. They immediately dragged him into the royal court, publicly exposing him as an uneducated fraud in front of a horrified Anang Sena. But instead of fleeing the palace in shame, Somdat held his ground. Relying on the parrot's final gift, he asked the court for exactly 15 days of isolation, promising a live, open debate when the time was up. The magical shortcut had officially expired. The borrowed brilliance was gone, and Somdat was forced to confront the terrifying reality of his own inadequacy. For the next 15 days and nights, Somdat locked himself away. He poured every ounce of his discipline into rigorously practicing the Saraswati mantra, refusing to eat or sleep properly. He was desperately trying to cure his own darkness of ignorance, the exact same concept that had won him the throne in the first place. He needed to internalize the authentic divine knowledge represented by the goddess Saraswati herself. Outside his door, the conspirators were counting the hours, eagerly waiting for the 15 days to expire so they could strip him of his title and claim the kingdom for themselves. There was no magical bird coming to save him this time. Stripped of his luck, Sumdut's only lifeline was the grueling, isolated hard work he was putting in behind those closed doors. On the evening of the 16th day, as the court prepared to formally banish him, Sumdut walked into the assembly hall. The nervous, silent beggar was gone. He radiated a quiet, genuine intellectual authority. When the debate began, Sumdut completely dismantled the elite scholars. Relying entirely on his newly earned wisdom, he countered every argument and silenced the conspirators one by one. Watching him command the room, Anangsena realized her husband was no longer a fraud. Through sheer dedication, he had actually become the genius she originally thought she had married, forming a partnership built on true equality. A stroke of luck or a single good deed might open a door you have absolutely no business walking through, but if you want to keep your place in the room, eventually you have to sit down and earn it.